What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Nicole in Gray. To be clear, hashtag the gray area, and it's Thursday. So it's time for Thirsty Thursday. Now, some of you may be familiar with the term thirsty as it's used in urban vernacular, but for those of you who aren't, thirsty is an adjective defined as dehydrated, starved for attention, or simply dry. And if you're like me, you can't stand a thirsty mother. Shut your mouth. So let's pour them a drink, shall we? Now wait, before we give them this drink, I feel it only appropriate that we evaluate how thirsty these people really are. That way, they get all they need. This week's episode of Thirsty Thursday is dedicated to co-host of FS1's show Speak for Yourself and former NFL player Marcellus Wiley. Wiley, who was a recent guest on Van Lathan's The Red Pill podcast, was asked whether or not Colin Kaepernick did the right thing by kneeling. His response? An absolute no. He said, if I had to vote whether Kaepernick did right or did wrong, I would vote wrong. Because I'm into resources, I'm into materializing, I'm into monetizing. Now, Wiley, being one of Kaepernick's loudest critics, has labeled his actions as too divisive to inspire change. To validate his point, Wiley compared the efforts of Colin Kaepernick to that of J.J. Watt in his fundraising for Hurricane Harvey. With his comparison, Wiley praised Watt's efforts in raising $41.6 million for Hurricane Harvey relief by using a more inclusive approach. He said in the Red Pill podcast interview that I watched J.J. Watt, different cause, different reason. Instead of being adversarial, in alliance, he raised $41.6 million on record. Podcast host pointed out that J.J. Watt's cause and Colin Kaepernick's protest were for two totally different reasons. Wiley's argument switched focus completely and turned to all the reasons why he feels Colin Kaepernick's protest fell flat. Most notably, he stated, I'm not going to stand up with that responsibility and connect with the voiceless and powerless and then go silent on them. So, Mr. Wiley, I guess that's why I can't find any other connection between you and the fight for social justice other than the one you've created through your criticism of Colin Kaepernick. Starved for attention much? Mr. Wiley, come get this drink. Okay, wait, y'all. Before we give Mr. Wiley his drink, let's just make sure he has enough. Because although criticizing someone else's protest of social injustice when you have no record of your own in that regard is thirsty enough to deserve a drink, Mr. Wiley has been setting these types of traps for months leading up to tonight's NFL season opener. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, immediately following the announcement of the Jay-Z NFL partnership, Wiley drew a rightful side-eye from many when he questioned Colin Kaepernick's fitness to serve as the face for the movement against injustice. The reason he gave for Kaepernick's unfitness? That he just isn't black enough. For that, I think we might need to get Mr. Wiley a double. What you think? Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Marcellus Wiley, he's a retired football player who played 10 seasons in the NFL after being drafted as the 22nd pick in the '97 NFL Draft. After retiring from the NFL, Wiley began a career of sports commentating. He formerly co-hosted Sports Nation on ESPN, as well as an afternoon drive time sports talk radio show in Los Angeles. Wiley currently hosts Speak for Yourself, a sports talk show that he hosts alongside Jason Whitlock, which airs on Fox Sports 1. It was on Speak for Yourself, oddly enough, where Wiley questioned Kaepernick's fitness to be the face of the movement due to his mixed race and upbringing. On the show, Wiley said, Kaepernick comes from a situation where he never felt the full weight of these injustices. This is a mixed-race guy who was raised by a white family from Wisconsin to Central California. Respect, that does not disqualify you from talking for us, but when you make missteps and miscalculations, it comes back into play. And in addition to questioning Kaepernick's blackness, Wiley also threw in Kaepernick's girlfriend into the mix. Kaepernick's girlfriend, Nessa, a known TV and radio personality, has been vocal from the start about Colin Kaepernick's treatment by the NFL as a result of his protest. Nessa recently made national headlines when she took to her Hot 97 radio show to criticize Jay-Z for taking the NFL partnership deal. On her show, Nessa acknowledged the work that Jay-Z has done for social injustice and also recognized the value of the deal. But she still expressed her frustration for taking a deal with an organization that had blackballed her boyfriend, arguably all because he stood up against social injustice. Nessa, being Kaepernick's girlfriend since the beginning of the movement, has always been supportive of his choice. And she has used her radio show to extend the conversation started by Kaepernick by taking a knee on the field. While many have applauded Nessa's efforts to be involved with her boyfriend's cause and just be supportive, Mr. Wiley had to say, respect to her and her ethnicity, but it's not black. Okay, now I know this is the time where some of you are saying, wait, what? Did Mr. Wiley really imply that someone of mixed race or a different ethnicity altogether could not be a champion for black issues? The answer to your question is yes. Yes, he did. And that's the reason for this double. Now, this would normally be the time of the podcast where I will read Mr. Wiley for filth, but someone's already done that for me. In an article entitled You Ain't Black Enough, my favorite sports commentator, Brian Bearfield, also known as Big Sarge Sports with a Z, wrote about the comments made by Mr. Wiley and his co-host Jason Whitlock, and he shared stories of his late wife's encounters with racism as a biracial individual growing up in America. He shared those personal stories to dispel the myth that people of mixed race are not victims of racism. He also went further in the article to give a history lesson to those ignorant of the struggles for civil rights and social justice. He gave a reminder that whites were also beaten and killed alongside blacks who rode for freedom and justice and marched for freedom and justice. So since Big Sarge handled up on the read, I'm just going to go ahead and pour Mr. Wiley this drink. Because as I see it, Mr. Marcellus Wiley, you thirsty AF. And you might want to hurry on and drink up. The season's about to start and they might want you to talk about some actual sports. Just saying. As always, y'all, thank y'all for joining me on my podcast. For anything that's going on with Nicole Lynn Gray, go to NicoleLynnGray.info. And I hope you join me tomorrow for Fight Me Friday. As always, it's been real. Your girl, Nicole Lynn Gray, to be clear, #thegrayarea. And I'm out.